Hello, and welcome to another episode of Untraditionally Traditional, a podcast with me, Brittany Duncan, a millennial homemaker. Join me each week as I share all the things I've learned that make keeping your home, garden, and life running smoothly, all while working. If you are enjoying the podcast, please be sure to subscribe in your favorite podcasting app so you get the episodes downloaded straight to you every Monday. Now, on to today's episode. Hello, and welcome to Untraditionally Traditional, a millennial homemaker. This is your host, Brittany Duncan, and I was recently reflecting on my homemaking journey, where it's come from, where I hope to lead it, and I've decided to do a series of 4 episodes that are going to break down my version of homemaking 101, 201, 301, and 401, from beginner to expert homemaker. I think often as homemakers, we can either forget how far we've come, what we've learned, the skills we've honed, and we're always focusing on where we want to be as homemakers. And then as a new homemaker, it's even more daunting because so much of the content provided is really dedicated, in my opinion, to the seasoned homemaker. When you're starting out, it is overwhelming. And we all have to start somewhere. So this first episode is going to be Homemaking 101, and it's going to focus on the basics because without a strong foundation, we can't build a strong structure. The basics of homemaking hold true no matter what stage you're in. Even if you're a seasoned homemaker, sometimes we have to get back to basics when things go off the rails. The beautiful and challenging thing about homemaking is that it's ever evolving and changing. Each day, week, month, year is a little bit different depending on our season, and often just when we feel we have it dialed in, the game changes and we have to adjust or pivot. Having a solid foundation with those basics makes adjusting easier. These episodes will more or less follow a theme of food, laundry, cleaning, budgeting, outdoor care, and entertaining as the main categories of homemaking we dive into. Depending on your personal situation, some of these categories may not apply. For example, if you live in an apartment and you don't have a balcony or any outdoor space, the outdoor category is likely not applicable. But there may come a time when it is applicable, or perhaps there's an insight you can glean from it regardless. Okay, let's dive into Homemaking 101, starting with food. One of the skills people most often associate with a homemaker is having the ability to cook, to provide a meal, and there is a wide range of what that looks like. And while some of us learn from our parents or grandparents how to cook from a young age, others are thrust into the world as adults with no culinary education and rely entirely on pre-made or DoorDash meals to sustain. When I look back on where I started as a homemaker, I have come a long way in the culinary department. Growing up, my mom was an amazing cook, but the kitchen was her sacred space. And truthfully, I didn't have much interest in it. So unfortunately, I didn't learn how to cook from her. Now I'm calling her all the time, asking her questions because she's such a great resource. But my mom and I rarely cook together. My mom, however, is not a baker, and I did like to dabble with baking. So I had a little experience with that, but not much, a batch of cookies here and there. When I went to college and was off the college meal plan, that's when I started slowly but surely learning how to cook. And there were many not pretty meals. Honestly, at that time, I pretty much relied on Trader Joe's, pre-made meals, or if I was cooking, it was a version of stir fry, which was really just pan frying vegetables, chicken, and adding the Trader Joe's teriyaki sauce, or making pasta, which was boiling pre-made noodles and adding a jar of sauce to it. Not that there's anything wrong with that if that's where you are, but that's how my cooking started. I was not making things from scratch when I first started out. And that's important to know because starting to cook can be really intimidating, especially as an adult. To this day, I have friends that do not cook at all. And to those of you who are starting out, I think that the pre-made meal kits, think HelloFresh, Blue Apron, I know there's a million of them out there, are an amazing starting point. When Johnson and I got married, we started with some of these meal kits, and it really helped to get our skills built and serve as a stepping stone before diving into sourcing ingredients and following a recipe out of a cookbook. If you've never really cooked before, that's a huge leap. The meal kits are nice because everything is pre-portioned, sourced, and it comes with step-by-step detailed instructions that are often accompanied by pictures, so you don't have to know the difference between terms like mince, dice, cube, chop, julienne, all of the cooking terms that eventually you learn. But with these meal kits, it's really nice. The recipes also don't usually require any special cooking tools, which is huge when you're starting out. So if you've got a few basic pots and pans, a kitchen knife, and some utensils like a whisk or a wooden spoon, chances are you will be able to get through the recipes that are in that meal kit. Start small. Currently, if you're ordering every meal out, deciding you're going to cook every meal is probably too big of a leap. Start with like 1 to 3 meals a week and build up. The second skill people think of as a homemaker is often laundry. Unlike cooking, my parents thankfully did teach me to do my laundry from a young age, but knowing how to do laundry and having a system for it are two different things. And I promise you that every homemaker out there has been buried by a literal mountain of laundry that needs to be done. I promise they have forgot to swap a load of towels for a couple days from the washer to the dryer, only to have to rewash them because they smell super musty. Every homemaker out there has piled clean laundry on a surface and left it for several days, maybe several weeks, before getting it folded and put away. The foundational skill for laundry is to create a system, and this is going to look different for every person and every family. Some people have a laundry day where they do multiple loads of laundry and they keep those machines running and swapping all on a single day. Others do 1 load a day and treat it more like maintenance. Sometimes that 1 load per day is assigned to a family member or category. Example, like Mondays, Brittany's laundry, Tuesdays is Johnson, Wednesdays is sheet, Thursdays is towels, Fridays the kids' laundry. Some people separate lights from darks and pinks. Personally, I don't do this unless the clothing has never been washed before. You buy a new red sweater, don't put that in with your anything white or it will be pink. If I were just starting out with developing a system, I think I would start with 1 load a day. You'll quickly figure out if that's right or if you don't create enough laundry to need to do it every day. And then maybe you move to every other day. What you need to factor in with laundry is what needs to be washed that isn't clothing. For example, when I wash our bedding, that's 3 loads if I'm washing it all. I've got a load for the sheets, a load for the quilt and shams, and then a load for what we call the sage blanket, which is a king-size throw that we put on top of our quilt at night to keep her lovely golden retriever hair off the quilt and sheets. I probably wash the quilt and the sage blanket every 3rd time that I wash the sheets. So I'm washing those sheets weekly, whereas I wash the quilt set and the sage blanket like every 3 weeks. If you're single or it's just you and a partner, chances are it may take 2 weeks before you need to do a load of towels versus if you have kids, you're probably washing a lot more towels, or this can change seasonally, right? Most families go through more towels in the summer months. You've got the pool, the beach, boat type outings, and you might be going through more towels. And so the load a day helps you keep up with the ebbs and flows of laundry and keep tabs on it. So that's where I would start on that front. When it comes to cleaning, I encourage starting small and staying off Pinterest. Well, you'll likely be given a whole long cleaning list and system that is probably going to overwhelm you. Start with the hot spots. First, add trash day and recycle day onto your calendar so you don't miss them. Set a reminder the night before to take the trash out so that you're avoiding a buildup. You're hitting those dates. There is nothing worse than hearing the trash truck in the morning and realizing, shoot, I forgot to take out the trash. So having it on your calendar is really ideal. Next, write down 3 hotspot areas that are small. For example, floors is huge. That's your whole house. But saying front entry is more tangible. You can hit that with a vacuum and clear the dump zone with a quick tidy. Kitchen is too big. Kitchen sink, doable. Bathrooms, too big. Toilets, manageable. Start with creating a system just to hit these hotspots and get them covered regularly. Again, I recommend a day a week for them, building them into a daily pickup. Timers can be really helpful when starting out. Set a timer for 15 minutes. Go through those 3 hotspots, getting as much as you can done in that 15 minutes. Likely, you will find if you do this every day, it's really not too much to pick up or clean. If your toilet's getting a regular scrub down, it just takes a few seconds to run that brush around the inside with some cleaner. But if you leave it, it's going to take some serious elbow grease and time the first time you do it to, get that ring off the toilet and all those things. Something often not thought about in homemaking publicly, which is a big role for many homemakers, is budgeting. A girlfriend and I were just grabbing coffee and we were talking about how the school system failed us as kids through elementary, high school, and even college in terms of understanding finances, budgeting, credit, interest, loans, real life skills. Before we get into any of that, though, you need to know what your finances are. You can't manage something that you don't know anything about. So if you don't look at your money, that's step 1. Get into your accounts, figure out how much money is coming in each month. For some, this will be a consistent number if you work a regular shift and have like a traditional pay structure. For others, this may fluctuate month to month. If that's the case for you, look at the last 6 months and average it out. Don't make excuses or exceptions in this exercise like, oh, that was a really bad month, that's not normal, or oh, this was a really good month. Average it out, use the real data as it was. Next, look at how much money is going out. Not what you plan to spend in the future, but what you have been spending. Again, 6-month average can be helpful here. To start with, in the foundations of homemaking phase, you're just gathering an understanding of where you're at. How much money you're bringing in, how much money you're spending, how much debt do you have. We're not looking at how much you should be making or should be spending, just what you have been doing. Leave shame at the door. This is the first step to creating a plan and a budget for your finances, just seeing where you're at. Okay, less scary topic, the outdoors. I mentioned at the top of the episode that this is going to look really different for everybody. Some are in apartments, some have a small balcony or patio, others have front and backyards, and some of you have some serious acreage. Start with curb appeal, and I would even narrow that down further to the front porch / your front door. One of my biggest pet peeves, and I'm going to sound pretty uppity saying this, is when people decorate for a holiday without removing all of the previous holiday's decorations. For the love of homemaking, do not put up your Christmas door wreath and leave your happy fall y'all doormat out, okay? Take your Christmas porch lights down before you put a flower pot out in the spring. As a rule of thumb, I think 30 days max, note the emphasis on max, is appropriate to leave decorations up after a holiday. But depending on the decoration, it may have a little bit of a longer life. So an example, a tasteful Christmas greenery wreath. I'd say you can leave that up through February. For many of us, those are snowy, cold months where greenery of the pine variety can last. But Santa and his reindeer, they should head back to the North Pole before the end of January. Fall decorations like pumpkins, those are acceptable to have out probably until the end of November. But ghosts and ghouls, they should make their way back to the attic shortly after Halloween. Patriotic holidays get a little bit of a longer season because you can fly the flag of your country all year round. It's patriotic, not trashy. But if you have signs that say, for example, Happy 4th of July, maybe take those down before the month turns to August. You catch my drift. Less is more when it comes to decorating your front stoop. I would limit yourself to 3 things: a doormat, a door hanger or wreath, and an accent item. The accent item might be a statue, a plant. For us, it's a pair of ceramic Canadian geese that I absolutely love. In certain seasons, you might add a little bit more, but I'd encourage the adage, less is more, especially if you're new to decorating. Okay, our last category is entertaining, and like cooking or really any of these categories we've dove in today, it's a learned skill, and for most, it's one of the more intimidating ones, which is why I encourage simply organizing a get-together as the first step. Build that foundation. Don't host it, per se. Organize a coffee date where a bunch of your girlfriends meet at a coffee shop and catch up. Everyone pays for themselves. You don't have to make anything, but technically you're hosting, you're organizing it, you're gaining the skill of organizing community, reaching out, scheduling a get-together. Get friends to meet for dinner and book the reservation. Decide to attend a concert this summer and get a group together to join. The key here is lead time. Give yourself and others lots of notice of where the event's going to be and to think through whether tickets or a reservation is needed. You don't necessarily have to open your home to entertain. You can simply take on the task of planning and organizing the get-together, and this is where I encourage you to start if entertaining is new to you. Okay, that wraps up our Homemaking 101 episode, focusing on foundations. Next week, we're going to be diving into Homemaking 201, intermediate homemaking. Until next week, happy homemaking, everybody, and thank you so much for listening. Thank you for listening to this episode of Untraditionally Traditional. If you enjoyed the podcast, please share it with those special people who would love it too, and write a review. For more tips and photos of my home and garden, follow Untraditionally Traditional Pod on Instagram. Until next week, let's continue to make our homes places of joy and service to ourselves and those we share them with.